Hello, CNG 132. Welcome to a chilly Monday morning. This week we jump into week 12. We're starting to get to the end of our book um, where we look at access management. And when we review access management, there are many models to choose from: um, mandatory, discretionary, role, rule, time. Um, the ones listed in the book are a good start, but they're not fully complete. Um, as there are many other models not listed. But these are like the top ones that you really see out in the world, ready to go. So make sure you look at those and look at them as a way of most restrictive to least restrictive. That is the best way to classify those. Um, Account setup, onboarding. When you start to get hop into server classes, whether it's Linux server or Windows Server, you start to look at people and say, okay, this person is in HR. You know, how long is their account valid? As a student, you'll see that sometimes your accounts, when you try to log in on campus in between semesters, it sometimes doesn't work. That's because the accounts kind of expire during that time. Um, the on-campus accounts expire at that time, leaving a gap for you to um, re-register for school, or perhaps you are registered for school, and then go through and audit those and reactivate your account, so you can log back into those um, computers. Same with offboarding. Um, you don't make accounts forever because that will have some policy issues. Maybe you create accounts and say, okay, um, oh, take for example myself, adjunct instructor. Um, my account's only good for usually about a year and a half, and then they review it before that year and a half, and they reactivate me for another year and a half. Um, if I were to wasn't around Front Range at that year and a half period, then my account would just go into the uh, I'm trying to think here. I just drew blank. It would it would go into like a freeze, um, but not deleted. You don't never delete accounts. You just kind of just put them in a stace in a I can't remember that word. Um, you just kind of, I wouldn't say pause the account, but the account just expires. Yeah, there we go. It expires. It never deletes. Um, just in case that person ever comes back, they still have an account, um, but it's not deleted. Account auditing, recertification. We're talking about once again, how do you manage the accounts? Permission auditing. If I were, I guess, if my Surface was working, do I have access to the correct files? When I VPN, are the files there that I need? Say my C drive documents, is it available on the Front Range website? And then best practice for access controls. Usually the least is best. That's the best way to do that. Separation of duties, rolling back. I think we discussed this earlier in the chapter. You don't give the one person all the power. Usually you try to separate that and then rotate people. Here we go, job rotation. Rotate people as they're working, just to make sure that there's some sort of auditing in place and to avoid burnout. Um, Mandatory vacations, excellent idea. Never seen one. We're jumping into policy, security policy. Clean desk policy is a security policy, and if you want to start getting jump on your security policy, feel free to do so. Access control list. This is defined to permissions to an object, and those permissions can be based on users, based on other hardware. Um, with that, group-based access control, same thing. You assign access through groups, security groups, um, the admin group. the manager group. If we had a manager and an admin group, well, the manager probably wouldn't have access to what the admins have access. He could see what they're doing, but not directly start making changes, because that'd be more of the admin's job and not the manager's job. And identity services, Radius, we're talking about server authentication, Kerberos, Talkos Plus. These are all LDAP, all certification or server authentications, and how they authorize, framework protocols, and then we kind of reach the end. Once again, make sure you focus on this reading. Definitely the access control models, discretionary, rule-based, role-based. Feel free to Google. There's even more, like I said, on the internet about these. So if those don't quench your appetite for knowledge, make sure to do that additional research. Let's see, for summer and fall, I know that there are changes being talked about. I don't have any answers for you at this point. I was told after Wednesday they should have more answers for going into summer and fall. So once I get those answers, I'll relay them to you about courses. I know I was just asked to review some courses, so I think they might be pushing more online. So the selection might grow greater for online courses. And of course, my feedback is, if you're always the first class to go through the first course when it's offered, that's the best course, because there's more lenience, because they're still trying to figure out how the course will run in a real scenario, where when it's being developed, it's kind of like it should run like this. But that first semester is usually the easiest semester for students and faculty to say, you know what, kind of made some mistakes here. A lot more leniency with the grading process. We have a test this week, so make sure to get that test in. Make sure you're practicing your Kaplan. And if you have any questions, reach out through Google Hangouts.